I'm Hayden Chambliss.
And I'm Georgia Chambers. We're here to talk to you today about our Bulldog Illustrated article, College Football, An Evolution of Change.
So we talked to two Georgia grads, Tony Barnhart, who is Mr. College Football. He hosts a show on CBS, and Mark Schleybaugh, who is a reporter for ESPN.com covering college football, just to get their insight on the change since the college football playoffs, which were in 2014, and how college football has evolved in the 5 years after that.
Yeah, and just taking Georgia as an example, I mean, Coach Smart just signed a $49 million contract. And looking at, like the coaches under him, Pittman and Coley are approaching $1 million, and a lot of the other position coaches are over $500,000. And then looking at the stadium renovations, I mean, before last season, they approved a $63 million improvement. And, that's not where it's stopping. It's going on. The facilities are, constantly, they're like, well, what can we do to make it better? So it's a constant change. And it, begs the question, is it ever going to stop? People are competing with other programs, and it's like, well, obviously the top programs are going to win out.
Yeah, Mark, when we talked, he said that the money it takes to run a college football program these days and the amount of money coming in is huge. He said that, the big difference and the big gap is going to be between the Power 5 and the Group of 5 conference. The Group of 5 really does not have the same amount of money coming in. With the SEC network and Big Ten network and things like that, these big schools are getting close to $20 million a year. So extra on top of everything else. So I think that plays a big part in raising coaches' salaries, raising recruiting budgets, adding improvements to get more recruits. I think it's a big cycle, and even the difference between Georgia and Georgia Tech. I mean, Georgia made close to $150 million last year, and Georgia Tech made half of that.
Yeah, and it also, people are like, Georgia and Georgia Tech used to be such great rivals. Like, what happened? Well, at the end of the day, Georgia's the one getting the more money, so, they have the money to get, better coaches, to train the athletes. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to follow the money. And the money goes to the program that's going to win out in the season.
I completely agree. And, the next thing that we covered in our article that's a big change in college football that just arose this past season is the NCAA transfer portal. We saw Justin Fields leave through that. We saw Jalen Hurts move around the country from that. And it's had a big impact on how the world of college football works. When I talked to Tony, he said that, it's good because it makes the whole process out in the open. There's not closed phone calls. Nothing's done in secret. So that's good for the public. That's good for fans and media so that we can kind of see what's going on. But the bad side is that 79% of the transfer waivers were granted for media eligibility. So that brings the question, are college football players more like free agents? Do their signing agreements mean anything?
Yeah, and Schleybaugh actually added to that saying, the NCAA is kind of treating this like, well, if the athletes are unhappy, they can leave. Which at the end of the day, isn't good for programs because, they're like, well, I can't necessarily keep my players. And then also, looking at it from the other side, it's like, well, these players that are entering the transfer portal are probably going to be looking at going to top schools like Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama. So again, this kind of turns the other cheek to the smaller schools not getting enough money, not being able to attract the players entering the portal.
That's completely right. I totally agree. Because when a player is looking to transfer, logically they're not going to transfer down to a Group of 5 school. They want to move up from where they're transferring from. They want to go somewhere where they're going to have playing opportunities in amazing settings. And that's what the Power 5 has right now, and the Group of 5 doesn't.
Yeah. And I think this is kind of like, what's the next 5 years going to look like? And I think it's a lot of unknown. And for now, we've seen a lot of change these past 10 years. So I think in the next 5, it'll be even different. So like we said, it's an evolution of change, and it'll be interesting to see if it continues to change.
The change is really rapid, and make sure to check out our article Out on the Streets in Macon, Athens, and the Golden Isles in Bulldog Illustrated magazine, and also on our website, bulldogillustrated.com. Thank you.
Thanks.